California. It's the West Coast. I've been working on my own project for about 6 months now. I've had sort of the seed planted in my mind of what the idea was going to be. It was always intended to be a screenplay, intended to be a movie. I'm first writing the book, about 3 chapters that are done. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the end of that. And then in addition to that project, I'm working on your story with you. And I think for being a better writer, I feel pretty confident with my writing skills, although I have not written a screenplay before. So I think it's really important for me to hear dialogue and to be able to analyze that dialogue. I think you obviously write what you know best. If you have a format down and it's backlog, after you've done that sort of research and you have that sort of understanding and knowledge, you can then be able to play with it. So it's not, a juvenile approach, it's executed. Okay, so part of the homework that I'll be giving you are certain movies that I think pertain, but also that are, were made by some of the greatest directors. It's really important to have that back knowledge so that I can speak with you. And if one scene I feel pertains maybe aesthetically or the narrative or how a director uses transitions from one scene to another scene, I can speak with you on that level and I can say, blah, 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 this relates to this scene. I like this element in the scene. This is how I want it to whatever, so that we can communicate on a more something basis. Yeah, so I think that's one of the first steps. What I need from you is basically a timeline of events, which we'll just write down now after this so that I can start talking to you about the story and you can give me all the details. And that way I know where to place it, that it's organized, because this is a huge, this isn't my life. I don't know, I can't play around with it. Obviously you write what you know best. Like, there needs to be some sort of structure in your mind. And then all of these other things that perhaps seem smaller, it will send off a light bulb. I'm like, oh, okay, so this can relate to this story, this can enrich it in some way. I can tweak it or play with it. It gives me freedom. So those are the things, that's the first step that I need. To even be able to start working on it, getting into the script, getting into the, into the narrative and be really convicted and moved by it, to see it viscerally so that when I write it, it evokes all of those emotions that you're talking about it in the voice. That way someone, when they read the script, they're like, oh, this is what it's saying. And I think, a masterpiece of this time, you have to know the history of film as well, just to, incorporate certain techniques. I mean, the director will know that and do that, but some basis, again, so where we can communicate, be on the same, like we have the same visuals, is essential. Yeah.
Keep on.
I would watch Chinatown with Jack Nicholson. It came out in the 70s. Pulp Fiction, Quentin Tarantino films. I think, actually, when you were speaking about, when I first met you, you were talking about the narrative. I'm a very visual person. I see it visually. And I'm also tied in with the narrative. How the visual, informs the narrative, how the narrative informs the visual. They have to be seamless. It has to be mindfully executed. I don't think it will look cheesy if you just slap it around. Like, the art direction is so important. And then that we're just on the same page in every regard about that. Where was I going?
What do you think the changes I should make and how I present my stuff? I need some of your advice. What do you think? We're a team. What a team player would say to another team player.
In terms of what? We have to be more specific.
In terms of the reason why you're telling me you got homework to do. Why are you giving me this homework?
Just for the same reason that we need to be able to communicate certain references. I think that the history informs obviously film and the evolution of film, certain techniques that have been used for centuries, how we've evolved. I mean, it all has to do with storytelling. The Lumiere brothers, they were one of the first that would capture, basically it would just be a solid shot and be a picture moving. And that was really fascinating to people in the early 1900s. Then it started to tell a narrative, and from, for having moved from a single, like, 90-degree angle, like shooting from a 90-degree angle, like square on, they started playing with angles as opposed to your body just being present and watching this. It started tracking eye movements of people and, how you would look. So in movies now, later, like how it evolved, and there's so many different evolutions and so many different ways, but what I'm saying is that if you know the history of things, you know where things are applicable, like what's applicable to use. Compositionally, I guess, is a big thing. Just certain angles and techniques that you can play with. If you're wanting to take photographs, you have to be mindful of the environment. I mean, a filmmaker gets to play God in a way. They get to create the environment. They get to create how you see. And that's also like how I was talking about tracking the eye movements, where in the beginning of film in the 1900s, early 1900s, it would be a frame where it was on a 90-degree angle where it would just be a moving picture essentially. And then it started playing with techniques about how to tell a story. Playing with narrative in that way. Having a toolbox, being able to have a toolbox essentially to be able to use as a reserve to go in and tap into that, be like, what did they do here? All of those things. And so it's just important for me to be able to talk with you about certain references. Helps the story. It's good for your own, like you should, be researching, I feel, who inspires you in terms of photographers that are really doing something, changing something, whether it's aesthetic. I mean, they all play in. I think it's all really important to evolve. Just, do research, do a lot of research, watch a lot of movies, especially